This story is amazing. This is the reincarnation case of Barbro Karlin. Karlin was born in Sweden in 1954, 9 years after the passing of young Anne Frank. When she was very young, her parents began noticing some startling behavior. She would have terrifying dreams of another life. When she was 2 years old, she told her mother and father that her name was Anne, and she didn't understand why they weren't calling her by her real name. She also insisted that they were not her parents. Her mom thought that maybe this was just her daughter's imagination. Notably, at this time, the diary of Anne Frank had not been translated to Swedish yet, and her family didn't even know who Anne Frank was. Karlin was sad that no one believed her, but after starting school, she found solace in one thing: writing. She would document her past memories and write poetry. And one day at school, her teacher taught a lesson on Anne Frank, and she knew this was her. When she was 10, her parents took her on a trip through Europe, and when they got to Amsterdam, they wanted to visit Anne Frank's house. Karlin suddenly said, "We don't need a cab. I know exactly where we are and how to get to the house." Her parents were confused, but she indeed led the entire way to the house. Street by street, turn by turn, she knew. When she stepped inside, the nightmare she had as a child came flooding back and she got really ill. She had lived here before. She walked into the room Anne Frank lived in and pointed out where her photos were hung and wondered where they went. Her mother asked a guard and he said she was right, they had just taken them down recently. After this trip, her mother believed everything. Karlin went on to impress with her writing talents and wrote her first book at 12 years old. She was known as a child prodigy and published 11 more books of poetry by 16. To further prove this, she met with Anne Frank's only living relative at the time, Anne's cousin, Buddy Elias. Buddy was an actor and wanted to meet the girl who claimed she was his cousin. Buddy was very skeptical of this. He invited her to dinner, and as soon as the two laid eyes on each other, they fell into each other's arms. Buddy was hounded for details of their conversation, but only said that she is absolutely the reincarnation of his cousin Anne. It's really sweet. The two stayed in touch for years until Buddy passed in 2015. Karlin grew up and continued to write further volumes of poetry. She's also worked as a police officer, but always kept her memories close to heart. Is it just me, or don't they look a lot alike? And the fact that both of them were these young, talented writers? Do you think she's the reincarnation of Anne Frank?
So there's so many reincarnation stories, but it's always interesting when it has to do with a celebrity because that's what I talk about. So today we're going to talk about the little 5-year-old boy who says he's Princess Diana reincarnated. So all started when the little boy was 2. Someone gave his mom a card with Princess Diana on it. Previous to this, they had never talked about Princess Diana. When he saw the card, he pointed to it and said, "Look, that's me when I was a princess." At first, they didn't think anything of it. They thought he was just being clever. But as time went on, he has so much info on Diana that they never knew. And when he would see Prince Harry and Prince Charles in pictures, he would say, "Those are my sons," and kept referring to them as "my children, my sons." They showed him a lot of different pictures of different castles, but he pointed to the correct home of Princess Diana. Then he said something about unicorns, and there was a room that had unicorn, I guess, wallpaper or whatever. He said, "One day I was a princess and then there were sirens and then I just wasn't a princess anymore." He also talked about his little brother John, which he didn't have. But after lots of research, they found out Princess Diana had a little brother who had passed away as an infant named John. There's so many similar stories like this, so follow for more.
Mind-blowing cases of reincarnation, part 27. 5-year-old Olivia from Starr, South Carolina has what seems like abandonment issues towards her mother. Every time her mom even grabs her keys, Olivia screams and cries, not wanting her to leave. Olivia has always been very motherly and takes care of her siblings and other children. Even her teacher told her mom that she would always help when a student was hurt or needed something. Her mom also noticed that Olivia would never let anyone touch her chin, like it was somehow sensitive, and she had no idea why. One day, her dad brought home a guitar from work, and she immediately started playing and singing like she already knew how, although she has never touched a guitar before. When asked how she knew how to play, she replied saying she used to be a singer. She said she lived in California, then moved to New York, and that she used to have a different family. Her mother asked who was in her family. She said she was a white girl and lived with Native Americans. Her mom then asked how she got from place to place. She replied saying wagons and horses. The stories Olivia told eventually took a dark turn, saying that her family was killed. She talked about how her and her sister Mary Ann lived with Native Americans, saying some were nice, some were mean, and that the mean ones killed her family. She also said that she took care of hundreds of children in the tribe. Her mom decided to call her friend who was part of a Native American tribe and was told to help Olivia identify who she was in her past life. She began researching white women in Native American tribes where she found Olive Oatman, whose story matched the details that Olivia gave. In 1851, Olive and her family joined a wagon and headed out west to California. They came across a river and set up camp for the night when a group of Native Americans ambushed them and killed her entire family except for her and her sister Mary Ann. Both of the girls were taken to the tribe where they were tortured, but after a year they were traded to the Mojave tribe where they were treated with love and care. The sisters took care of hundreds of children in the tribe and were given tattoos on their chin to show that they were part of the tribe. Olive and her sister would also sing and play guitar for the tribe and would be given gifts as thank yous. 5 years after Olive was captured, the army got word of a white woman living in a Native American tribe and negotiated to get her back. When they made the trade, Olive moved to New York. Olivia's mom actually showed a picture of Olive to Olivia, and this is her reaction.
Look familiar to you?
Face look like me.
Her face look like you?
See that and that?
Her mom thinks that the way Olivia acts all stems from Olive's life. She lost 2 families, possibly giving Olivia abandonment issues. She doesn't like people touching her chin because of the tattoo Olive had on her chin. She was so motherly because Olive took care of children in the tribe. And she knew how to play guitar because Olive played guitar for the tribe. Do with this information what you will. It's just crazy to me how many parallels there are between the stories Olivia told and Olive's life.
People who don't have children, women who don't give birth, men who choose never to father children, there is a high probability that a person who dies without leaving a child behind is actually on their last reincarnation. And the reason being is once the life is over, once the body and the soul separate, and once there's the removal of the focus of the soul from the physical reality, there is really this withdrawal of energy and this completion, if you will. So a soul that is complete with this reality would most likely prefer to not leave children behind because that binds the energy, that creates connection. Now, people who are in their last life also can have children. There's no one rule covers it all. People who are in their last incarnation can have children. However, here's what's so interesting. The people who are on their last life and then move on to other dimensions, the soul continues and continues to create and grow through other experiences and dimensions. The imprint that strengthens the offspring, that sense of connection, that sense of family, that sense of belonging is actually weakened for the offspring. Their subconscious feels the missing energy, the withdrawal of the parental energy from this dimension.
So how long does it take a soul to reincarnate after they die? This answer is gonna vary soul to soul. Some it can be very shortly after. Some might be a few years, 10 years. There was a time period where I was reincarnating very quickly after another, like once I would pass away. And then I also have a time period in the 1900s where I waited quite a few decades to reincarnate. A lot of it has to do with how traumatic the life was and how traumatic the death was, usually. So if you have a lot of trauma that you're needing to work on a higher level, you're probably not gonna be like, oh, let's go back and do this human business. From what I understand from studying, talking to other people, and communicating with my own spirit team, usually the average is about 5 years. I personally don't know anything about reincarnation as anything but human. I definitely believe it can happen. My specialty is just more earthly humans because I love humans and I love Earth. Signs this is your first lifetime on Earth. You don't really have interest in history or any historical event. Not that you don't care that it happened. It's just nothing really resonates within you. Same with time periods. You're just kind of living in the now. You don't have many, if any, fears, and any fears you do have are easily explained by circumstances in your current lifetime. You might not have religious or spiritual beliefs. Being agnostic or atheist is very common in newer souls. Any beliefs or opinions you have, you're very rigid in them. You struggle with seeing the gray area or anything beyond your own perspective. And this isn't to put down anyone that's a newer soul, by the way. We're all there at some point. You don't see anything other than your perspective because you haven't experienced anything else. Science fiction and life beyond Earth might be something very interesting to you, but that also might be a star.
So you're saying that the person that killed you had the devil with him?
No, he got possessed by him.
Really?
And he was watching him.
So is that why he gave you the lollipop that killed you?
Yeah. So, like, for example, he was like, there was poison in it. And it had bugs in it.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember.
But that was when you died, right? That's when you saw that? And then later on, did you see anything good? Like...
No, nothing
So then how did you come back?
I didn't come back.
No, but you're here now as a girl, right?
Yeah. I don't know how I came back. And I saw God and he said I should be a girl, not a boy.
Really?
Yeah, and then he took me back alive. That was my afterlife.
Yeah?
But that was nice of God to like revive me as a girl. I did not.
You didn't like being a boy?
Yeah,
Why not?
because I don't like hair, boy hair.
You don't like boy hair?
Yeah.
So when you came back to this life, did you choose your siblings? Like, did you say you want Marley to be your sister?
Yeah.
Yeah? And how did you choose?
I told God that when I died.
Really? How did you see her? You saw her already here?
Yeah.
And then you were like,
I was like,
you want her?
God, Daddy, can I have a different family? And he said yes. And I pointed out the family. Dad was with them, Mom was with them, and Molly and Tristan. I pointed at the family and he said okay. And he said, are you sure? And I said yes.
Really? So do you know why you chose them?
Because I like Daddy, because he was the handsomest and Molly was the cutest.
Really?
She was like 3 years old.
That's so cute.
That's me. And I said, twin.
Oh my
But she was
god.
actually my twin. She was still be my sister.
Exactly. What did God say to you when you died? Do you remember?
He said, don't die, live. Find a brand new family. You'll be happy.
Really? And are you happy now?
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're happier now than in your last life?
Yeah.
I'm glad. I'm very glad.